Good afternoon to the committee. My name is Kyle Jones with Sierra Club California, and also to speak on behalf of California League of Conservation Voters. I wanted to speak about the CEQA piece today and urge the committee to reject any exemptions for the California Environmental Quality Act. These transportation projects have very real environmental impacts and impacts on public health and safety that the public deserves to hear about. We think that cutting the public out of the process and restricting their voice and ignoring these impacts isn't the right way to go. Instead, we've heard about successes of advanced mitigation, and then also we urge that any discussion on CEQA focus on early stakeholder engagement, also identifying agencies that would have a stake, and working collaboratively to build support for the projects, not just cutting the public out of the process, which will only build suspicion for what the government's doing. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Bonnie Holmes-Jen, Senior Director for Air Quality and Climate with the American Lung Association in California. And I want to first just remind you of the public health burden of air pollution that is extremely costly, that it's leading to respiratory illnesses, hospitalizations, emergency room visits, delayed lung development in children, a host of unacceptable impacts. And it's extremely costly, adding up to billions every year. And of course, transportation is one of the biggest sources of these emissions that form pollution. We are looking to you to ensure that as we move forward to invest, to develop and invest new transportation funding, that the funding plan is aligned with our state's goals. And not that we're not investing in the status quo. Our goal is to achieve 40% reduction in greenhouse gases by 2030, 50% reduction in petroleum, and the critical goal to achieve our federal health-based air quality standards. As our colleagues before has mentioned, there's just a need for much more to be done to align what our state is doing on transportation funding with these broader climate, health, and air quality goals. Some very specific recommendations we have for you, the importance of developing complete streets that serve active transportation and transit, the need to invest in transit capital and operations and increasing ridership, the importance of prioritizing investment in increasing mobility and transportation options in disadvantaged communities, and promoting the transition to zero emission and low carbon transportation in all of our on-road and off-road fleets and in the freight sector. This is a major priority of the state, and we need all of our transportation and land use and air quality planning aligned. We've signed on to a letter with other groups, and we look forward to working with you on these key priorities.
Thank you for your indulgence, chairs and committee members. My name is Wendy Alfson. I'm with California Walks. I want to echo all of the comments of the last several speakers. We do work in coalition with each other. And I just wanted to raise a couple of points which are dear to the hearts of some of you and maybe to all of you, which is that these investments in maintenance room repair, when they are distributed among all of the transportation users, will help all of the users. And that those disparately impacted are particularly pedestrians and bicyclists. We now account for 40% almost of the fatalities in California jointly. Pedestrians themselves are going to take up a quarter. Every fourth person who dies on a California road is a person who's trying to walk along or across the street. That should not be the case. We don't spend 1% of our transportation dollars on even maintaining, much less building those facilities to make it safe. You have the opportunity to do that and to make all of the investment that you're building here today to be consistent with our environmental goals. And I just want to really challenge you to stay strong and true to the state's goals and remind all of your brethren that it is our job to do this together. And I want to thank you for all the work you're doing.
Good afternoon, and thank you. I am happy to say that I am the last speaker, so I will make my comments brief. First and foremost, my name is Chanel Fletcher, and I represent Safe Routes to School National Partnership, where we are committed to advancing policies that create safe walking and bicycling for our most vulnerable users, our children. So we are a part of this coalition that represents the people who travel on our system. And today we come before you in support of this special session. We need to address our transportation funding crisis, and we want to partner with you to ensure a deal is done. And one of the biggest things that we hope to see as a deal is crafted is further efficiency and cost effectiveness that takes into account all users of the road. One of the best ways that we see this is through complete streets. If we're already going to go in and fix and repair the pavement, we should also make sure to include bicycle lanes and sidewalks where feasible. These improvements, done at the same time as we fix the pavement, they reduce cost, they reduce time, and they ensure that our children can safely walk or bicycle to school and will help us meet our state's ambitious climate goals. Senator Bell's SBX 1 included this, and we hope that future proposals will also include this. And in closing, we really are here on behalf of the people, the children who deserve better roads where they can walk and bicycle safely. And we want to make sure, as this deal is done, that it really takes into account all users and not just those who drive. Thank you so much.
Snuck in one more comment. So Chris Lee on behalf of the California State Association of Counties. Here we want to echo the comments by the League of Cities earlier. We think that the governor's plan is a great starting point for negotiations for the conference committee. It's got a substantial amount of revenue. It has equitable shares between state and local systems. It has streamlined and very narrowly tailored environmental reforms, such as the reforms that were included in AB 323 by Assemblymember Olson, which is streamlining, that has protections to make sure that roadway projects that are happening within the existing right-of-way can get a limited CEQA exemption, provided that there aren't impacts to a variety of resource areas that are clearly defined in the bill. The other thing is I'd like to say is, one thing that's left out a little bit out of the conversation about alternative transportation is that local streets and roads are the right-of-way where a lot of that happens. So CSAC's and the League's needs assessment number, that actually includes the cost for repairing pavement, but also includes sidewalks and curb and gutters and pedestrian ramps and ADA improvement. So this is something that when you're giving block grant money to local agencies, those are things that, by law have to be included when we're doing upgrades. So I would also like to remind you with just a couple of personal anecdotes about the need, the way that local governments, especially counties, get money for bike lanes in the rural area is through rehab projects, by projects that add shoulders to roads and allow restriping. So we definitely favor complete streets and encouraging that through this investment. But we have to keep in mind that the way that those projects are done is through money that's distributed by formula to local agencies in most cases. So thanks.
Just something you ought to know, that some municipalities require the property owner to do the curbs and gutters and sidewalks.
That's true.
So I just wanted to make that point.
It is included for those that don't. That's included in our needs assessment numbers.
Oh, so you excluded?
I believe so. I could look into that. But that number that we have, that $78 billion 10-year number, does include complete streets features that are on the system.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay. We have no other speakers. I think we're going to move along. And I finished my job as chairing this meeting, and now I'm going to turn it over next week to co-chair Jimmy Gomez in Southern California for our hearing in Southern California. And that will be on the 20th Wednesday of next week in Ontario City Hall. And do you have any other comments you want to make? Okay.
Yes, thank you for coming, and thank the chair for his excellent job today and his hard work over the years. There's a lot of issues we need to look up, but we have to have the discussion based on the facts. And I know funding and revenue is going to be a major issue that we're going to have to break down. A lot of the money over the last several years coming into the general fund has been dedicated to Prop 98. So to say that all of a sudden that we have all this extra money at our disposal and that we should look at other stuff first is, I think, an incomplete statement. We have to look at everything, of course, reforms, but also new revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll adjourn and see you at our Ontario City Hall next Wednesday.